Natalie Wood, one of Hollywood's brightest stars, talented, beautiful, strong. But few knew that she lived in constant unease. In 1981, she drowned off the coast of Catalina. Her death was ruled an accident, but for the past 40 years, too many questions have remained unanswered. Did she fall or was she pushed? Why were there multiple bruises on her body? Why did Robert Wagner, her husband and the last known witness, stay silent for decades? But this time, everything is about to change. New evidence, conflicting testimonies, and never-before-revealed details are coming to light. For decades, Hollywood seemed to forget about Natalie Wood's tragic death. But is this finally the moment when the truth is exposed? We will follow every clue, piece together every event, and perhaps the truth has been there all along. Natalie Wood came from an ordinary background. Born Natalie Zacharenko on July 20th, 1938, in San Francisco, California, she was the daughter of Russian-Ukrainian immigrants. Her father, Nicholas Zacharenko, was a carpenter from U.S.S.R, while her mother, Maria Zudova, came from Barnaul. The Wood family had a complicated history, fleeing Russia after the Civil War, living as refugees in China, before finally settling in the United States. Maria, her mother, was not just ambitious, she was obsessed with making her daughter a Hollywood star. No choices, no childhood, only a meticulously planned future. When Natalie was still a child, Maria uprooted the entire family from Santa Rosa, California, to Los Angeles, after a director noticed the little girl during an outdoor film shoot. At just 4 years old, Natalie appeared on screen. By 7, she starred alongside Orson Welles in Tomorrow is Forever, a turning point in her career. But what no one knew was that behind one of her most emotional scenes lay a moment of profound psychological trauma. When Natalie struggled to cry on cue, Maria ripped apart a butterfly right in front of her. The instant that delicate creature was crushed, Natalie broke down in tears. The scene was a success. Orson Welles once said that Natalie Wood was a genius actress, but was she truly a genius? Or just a child trained to have no control over her own emotions? At 9 years old, she suffered a terrifying accident on set. During a river scene, she fell into the water and nearly drowned. From that day forward, she developed a lifelong fear of water, never swimming, never allowing herself to go under. But that wasn't the only consequence. The fall permanently injured her left wrist, leaving a small, protruding bone for the rest of her life. Natalie always wore a large bracelet on her left wrist, not just as an accessory, but to hide the mark of that accident. Ironically, years later, her lifeless body was found floating in the waters off Catalina Island. How could someone so terrified of water willingly get into a boat alone in the dead of night? This wasn't just a tragic coincidence. It was a crucial piece in one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Natalie would achieve success at an early age, making her breakthrough at just 8 years old with her role in Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. The film became one of the most beloved Christmas classics of all time and marked a turning point in Natalie's career, establishing her as one of Hollywood's top child stars. In the film, she played Susan Walker, a bright but skeptical young girl raised by her mother to reject fantasies like Santa Claus. But everything changes when she meets Kris Kringle, an elderly man who insists that he is the real Santa. The movie was a huge commercial success, winning 3 Academy Awards, including Best Original Screenplay. But what truly made Miracle on 34th Street so captivating wasn't just its heartwarming message about belief and magic. It was Natalie Wood's natural performance. At only 8 years old, she perfectly conveyed innocence, curiosity, and heartfelt emotion as her character slowly came to believe in Christmas miracles. Her performance made her one of the most sought-after child stars in Hollywood, laying the foundation for a brilliant career ahead. However, early success as a child actor did not guarantee an easy road ahead for Natalie. The spotlight came with strict control from her mother, immense pressure to maintain her fame, and the fear of fading into obscurity as she grew older. Miracle on 34th Street may have launched her career, but it also marked the beginning of a relentless struggle in an industry that showed no mercy. There was a harsh reality in Hollywood. Many child stars who rose to fame early burned out just as quickly. Like flowers that bloomed too soon, their careers often withered before they could fully mature. The greatest challenge for young actors was that they couldn't remain children forever. Audiences adored a cute little girl. But what would happen once she grew up? Not everyone could successfully make the leap to adult stardom. Natalie knew this all too well. She refused to be just another forgotten name. Then, in 1955, Natalie Wood's biggest career breakthrough arrived with Rebel Without a Cause, the defining film about teenage rebellion starring James Dean. Her role as Judy, a troubled young woman torn between defiance and a desperate need for love, shattered her child star image and cemented her as a symbol of a new generation. But here's something few people know. Natalie Wood almost lost this role. Director Nicholas Ray didn't believe she could embody a rebellious, troubled girl. To him, Natalie was a well-behaved, controlled actress, the complete opposite of Judy. She lacked the raw, untamed edge the role required. But fate intervened. One night, while out with a group of wild, rebellious friends, Natalie was in a car accident and suffered injuries. Still bloodied and bruised, she went straight to Ray and, with unwavering determination, delivered a single line that changed everything. "Now, am I bad enough for the role?" That sentence sealed her fate. She got the part, and the rest is history. After Rebel Without a Cause, Natalie Wood was no longer a child star. She was now a serious actress, earning her first Academy Award nomination for Splendor in the Grass, 1961. In this emotionally intense drama, she played a young woman tormented by love and societal pressures, proving her ability to deliver deeply nuanced performances. That same year, she continued to make waves with West Side Story, one of the greatest musical films of all time. Inspired by Romeo and Juliet, the movie told the story of forbidden love between two young people from rival gangs in New York. Natalie portrayed Maria, a gentle yet passionate Puerto Rican girl, delivering a performance that was both delicate and powerful. While her singing voice was dubbed by Marni Nixon, Natalie's on-screen presence captivated audiences, solidifying her status as an icon of 1960s Hollywood. Natalie Wood accomplished something few child stars ever did. She stepped out of her own shadow and became a legend. 3 Academy Award nominations. Yet Natalie Wood's career was never a smooth road. She was a star, an icon, but also a woman who constantly battled with herself. After her breakthrough in Rebel Without a Cause and the golden years of the late 1950s and early 1960s, Wood continued to prove her talent with Splendor in the Grass, 1961. Her deeply emotional performance earned her a second Oscar nomination, but more importantly, it proved that she could take on complex, emotionally demanding roles far beyond the image of just another Hollywood beauty. At 25 years old, she secured her 3rd Oscar nomination with Love with the Proper Stranger, 1963, making her one of the youngest actresses in history to receive 3 nominations, a record that remained unbroken for years. But alongside these prestigious roles, she also took risks with commercial films. Wood starred in Sex and the Single Girl, 1964, and The Great Race, 1965, alongside Tony Curtis. Notably, in The Great Race, her fluency in Russian became an asset, as her character had to navigate a high-stakes cross-Siberian car race. By the mid-1960s, she was one of Hollywood's top stars, standing alongside Elizabeth Taylor and Audrey Hepburn. But even at the height of her fame, Wood faced criticism regarding her acting abilities. Inside Daisy Clover, 1965, and This Property is Condemned, 1966, earned her Golden Globe nominations, but also sparked mixed reviews. Renowned critic Pauline Kael once described Wood as Hollywood's most carefully manufactured ingenue. Not every gamble led to success. After starring in Penelope, 1966, which received a lukewarm critical reception, Wood found herself lost. She later admitted that it was one of the most stressful films of her career, even breaking out in hives due to the overwhelming pressure. Around the same time, she was awarded the Worst Actress of Last Year, This Year, and Next Year title by Harvard Lampoon, a brutal distinction. But instead of hiding from the humiliation, she did the unthinkable. She showed up in person to accept the award, becoming the first actress ever to do so. What she didn't realize was that she was walking into a trap. A rival group had staged a fake ceremony, complete with motorcycle escorts and a mock royal procession, all designed to ridicule her. Years later, when she recounted the story on the Dick Cavett show, she didn't shy away from it. Instead, she laughed about it, showing the world that she was a woman unafraid to face failure head-on. Natalie Wood's disappointment with Hollywood grew stronger over time. By 1966, she made a radical decision to step away from her career for 3 years and focus on her mental well-being. She walked away from all contracts, fired her agents, managers, and publicists, an unprecedented move for an actress at the peak of her fame. During this time, she chose to slow down, sought therapy, and dedicated time to herself. When she returned in the late 1960s, Wood made a bold comeback with Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, 1969, a provocative film that explored sexual liberation and challenged traditional moral values. The film wasn't just controversial because of its risque themes, but also because Wood, long associated with elegance and classic Hollywood glamour, chose to take on a role that shattered her established image. The decision divided the public. Some praised her for her fearlessness in pushing boundaries and evolving as an actress. Others criticized her, accusing her of chasing trends to revive a career that had started to slow down. Despite the mixed reactions, the film was a major success, earning her a Golden Globe nomination. But instead of riding the wave of success, Wood chose to step away once more, this time for a deeply personal reason. In 1970, she became pregnant with her first daughter. In the years that followed, she transitioned to television, exploring different genres. Her role in From Here to Eternity, 1979, proved that even after time away from Hollywood, she remained a formidable talent. The performance won her a Golden Globe, reaffirming her status as a powerhouse actress. Then, in 1981, she made the decision to return to the big screen with Brainstorm, a science fiction film that was expected to mark her grand cinematic comeback. But fate had other plans. Before the film could be completed, a single night changed everything. What remained were only unanswered questions. Hollywood has seen many great love stories, but few were as glamorous yet enigmatic as the relationship between Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner. They were more than just a power couple on the red carpet. They were the center of countless stories. Behind the glittering facade was a love that seemed like fate, yet was plagued by jealousy, doubts, and turmoil. Natalie Wood first met Robert Wagner when she was just 10 years old. At the time, Wagner was a promising young actor, while Wood was simply a little girl who admired him from afar. But it wasn't until their paths crossed again in 1956, when Wood was 18 years old and already a star in her own right, that their romance truly began. Wood once confessed that from a young age, Wagner had always been her ideal man. Charming, sophisticated, and irresistibly charismatic. When they officially began dating, all of Hollywood took notice. It wasn't just a beautiful pairing, it was a powerful union that captivated an entire industry. Unlike the grand, extravagant proposals common among Hollywood elites, Wagner's proposal was subtle, yet deeply romantic. In 1957, during an elegant dinner, he secretly placed a pearl and diamond ring inside a crystal champagne glass engraved with the words, "Marry me." When Wood discovered the sparkling ring under the candlelight, she was overcome with emotion. A few months later, they were married. To the world, it seemed like the perfect Hollywood marriage. But behind closed doors, their relationship was riddled with insecurities and conflicts. At the time, Wood was one of the most sought-after actresses in Hollywood, and Wagner was equally in demand. Their demanding careers kept them apart, creating an emotional distance that slowly grew between them. However, the biggest strain on their marriage was Wagner's jealousy. Hollywood was full of fleeting romances, and for a star like Wood, being surrounded by charming, talented male co-stars was inevitable. Rumors swirled that Wagner was particularly jealous of Wood's connection with Warren Beatty, one of the most irresistible leading men of the era. As tensions mounted, their once magical love story began to unravel. In 1962, after 5 years of marriage, they officially divorced. To the outside world, it seemed like the end of their story. But fate had other plans. After parting ways, both moved on with other partners. Wood dated and eventually married producer Richard Gregson, while Wagner built a new family of his own. But despite their separate lives, their connection never truly faded. In 1972, after Wood's divorce, the unexpected happened. They reconnected at a party, and all their old feelings came rushing back. Just months later, they remarried in an intimate ceremony aboard a yacht off the coast of Malibu. No fanfare, no spectacle, just two souls finding their way back to each other, hoping for a peaceful future together. But if their first marriage ended in jealousy and career pressures, their second union would be haunted by the same demons. Only this time, the consequences would spiral far beyond their control. Their passion never truly erased the cracks in their relationship. Wagner remained possessive, particularly about Wood's on-screen chemistry with her male co-stars. And this time, the most controversial name in their marriage was Christopher Walken, Wood's co-star in Brainstorm. They had survived heartbreak once before. They believed this time it would last forever. But less than 10 years into their second marriage, fate would deal a cruel hand. Natalie Wood's tragic and mysterious death remains one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries. The love story of Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner was one of Hollywood's most complex romances, filled with passion, tenderness, but also betrayal and tragedy. They divorced, only to remarry. They loved deeply, but also doubted each other, and in the end, only one of them lived to tell the story. On November 28, 1981, Natalie Wood stepped aboard the yacht Splendor for what was supposed to be a relaxing weekend off the coast of Santa Catalina Island. Accompanying her were Robert Wagner, Christopher Walken, her co-star in Brainstorm, and Dennis Davern, the yacht's captain. But what started as a leisurely getaway ended in tragedy. Just 6 hours after she was reported missing, Natalie Wood's lifeless body was found floating in the water about a mile from the yacht. The evening began smoothly. The group had dinner on Catalina Island, drank wine, and engaged in light conversation. However, according to Captain Davern, the atmosphere grew tense as the night progressed. Wagner became increasingly jealous of Walken, especially after Walken praised Natalie's talent and encouraged her to continue pursuing her film career. Wagner was visibly enraged at the dinner table. He snidely remarked that Walken just wanted to sleep with his wife. The tension escalated as they returned to the yacht. Back on board, Wagner smashed a bottle of wine on the table, yelling that he was sick of Natalie prioritizing her career over their marriage. Walken, sensing the confrontation was spiraling out of control, quietly retreated to his cabin. Moments later, a violent argument erupted. According to Captain Davern, he heard shouting and the sounds of objects being smashed from the rear deck. When he knocked on the door, Wagner coldly looked at him and said, "Go away." Minutes later, Natalie was gone. What happened next was even more bizarre. Wagner did not immediately seem concerned. When Davern alerted him that Natalie was missing, Wagner refused to turn on the yacht's searchlights or call for help. Instead, he sat down, poured himself another drink, and acted as if nothing had happened. Davern later testified that he begged Wagner to start searching for Natalie, but Wagner dismissed his concerns. "Leave her there. Let this teach her a lesson," Wagner allegedly said. But that lesson became fatal. Natalie never returned. At 8 a.m. on November 29, 1981, Natalie Wood's body was found floating in the ocean. Nearby, an inflatable dinghy, the Valiant, was discovered, leading Wagner to claim that Natalie must have attempted to take the boat to shore by herself. But several details didn't add up. First, Natalie had a lifelong fear of water. She did not know how to swim and avoided being in deep water at all costs. Her sister, Natalie Wood, firmly stated, "My sister would never voluntarily step into a dinghy at night." Second, the autopsy report raised even more questions. Wood's body had 28 bruises, along with a facial abrasion on her left cheek and wrist injuries, suggesting a struggle had occurred before she drowned. And then there was perhaps the most chilling piece of evidence. A married couple on a nearby boat reported hearing a woman's screams for help in the middle of the night. They recalled the cries, "Help me! Someone, please help me!" But no one responded. The official ruling, an accident, or something more? Despite these disturbing details, the Los Angeles County coroner officially ruled Natalie's death as an accidental drowning caused by hypothermia and intoxication. But was it truly an accident? Or was it the result of a confrontation that went too far? For decades, the mystery of what really happened that night on the Splendor has lingered, making Natalie Wood's death one of Hollywood's most enduring unsolved cases. 30 years later, the case seemed to have been closed. But unexpectedly, it took a new direction. In 2011, after 3 decades of being pressured to stay silent, Dennis Davern decided to reveal the truth. He claimed that Wagner was furious and may have pushed Natalie into the water after their argument. Not only that, but Davern also testified that Wagner deliberately delayed the search for Natalie despite knowing she was missing. In response to these new statements, the police reopened the investigation, and Wagner was officially named a person of interest. At the same time, 2 new witnesses came forward, confirming that they had heard a woman screaming for help that night, yet no one responded. These testimonies further fueled suspicions surrounding Robert Wagner's involvement in the case. Initially, Wagner claimed he had no knowledge of how Natalie left the boat, but later he admitted to having an argument with her just before she disappeared. This inconsistency in his statements led the police to suspect that he may have staged the scene, intentionally letting the dinghy drift away to mislead the investigation. Another notable aspect of the case was Christopher Walken's silence. Aside from Wagner and Davern, he was the only other key witness, yet he never openly discussed what he knew. When asked about that night, Walken simply responded, "It was a tragedy." This vague and cryptic answer raised further questions. What was he not saying? Even after more than 40 years, the case remains unsolved. While circumstantial evidence suggests Wagner's involvement, to this day, there is no direct proof that he killed Natalie Wood. In 2012, Natalie's death certificate was amended. Her official cause of death was changed from drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors. 6 years later, in 2018, the Los Angeles Police Department publicly stated that Robert Wagner was the last person to see Natalie alive. However, he has never been charged. Forensic experts questioned the official report. Forensic investigators have also made controversial conclusions. Dr. Michael Franco, a forensic pathologist, declared that the bruises on Natalie's body were consistent with someone being dragged or thrown into the water. However, this crucial evidence was ignored in the original 1981 autopsy report. Additionally, another witness revealed that the coroner's office may have concealed the true cause of Natalie's death. The public continues to demand answers to the lingering questions. If this was just an accident, why did Robert Wagner delay searching for his wife? If Natalie voluntarily got into the dinghy, why were there so many bruises on her body? And most importantly, will justice ever be served? One thing is certain. Natalie Wood can no longer speak for herself, but the bruises on her body may have already told the truth. After Natalie Wood's death, Robert Wagner quickly entered a new relationship. Just a few months after the tragedy, he publicly began dating actress Jill St. John. This relationship raised suspicion, with many wondering, was Wagner truly mourning his wife's death, or was he simply trying to escape the controversy? In 1990, Wagner and St. John married, marking the fourth marriage for both. It became Wagner's longest-lasting marriage, spanning over 3 decades, longer than any of his previous relationships, including both of his marriages to Natalie Wood. Yet, despite building a new life, the shadow of Natalie's death has never left him. The unanswered questions, the accusations from Davern, the contradicting statements, they all continue to haunt public perception. Did Wagner truly move on? Or has he spent a lifetime trying to bury the past? The death of Natalie Wood not only left behind unanswered questions, but also sent shockwaves through Hollywood. When the case was reopened in 2011, many actors and fans demanded justice for her. Stars who had worked with Wood, such as Mia Farrow and Jane Fonda, along with many actors from later generations, expressed their grief and outrage over the lingering mysteries surrounding her case. For many in the industry, her unresolved death became one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries and a symbol of the injustice that women face in the entertainment industry. But amid the endless controversies, one person has dedicated her life to preserving Natalie Wood's legacy, her daughter, Natasha Gregson Wagner. Natasha has frequently spoken about her mother in interviews, authored the book More Than Love, an intimate portrait of my mother, Natalie Wood, and produced the documentary Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind. In her speeches, Natasha has consistently emphasized that her mother was not just a beauty icon, but also a devoted mother and an actress fully committed to her craft. However, she has not been immune to the pressures surrounding her mother's death, especially as her stepfather, Robert Wagner, continues to be publicly scrutinized as a suspect in the case. Though her life ended in tragedy, Natalie Wood's impact on Hollywood remains undeniable. With a career spanning more than 3 decades, she became one of the greatest actresses of the 20th century. Her films remain classics, cherished by audiences and inspiring generations of actors who followed in her footsteps. Beyond her performances, Wood was a pioneer in fighting for the rights of female actors. She boldly took on emotionally complex roles, challenging stereotypes of women in film. Her ability to balance delicate beauty with inner strength became a source of inspiration for future actresses, including Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and Natalie Portman. Today, more than 40 years after her passing, the name Natalie Wood remains unforgettable. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the films she starred in continue to hold a significant place in cinematic history. Her life story, filled with both triumph and tragedy, remains a subject of documentaries, books, and endless discussions. Her case still lacks a definitive resolution. But one thing is certain: Natalie Wood was more than just an actress. She was a legend. The controversy surrounding her death may forever remain an unsolved mystery, but the legacy she left behind in film and popular culture will never fade. Natalie Wood, a talented actress, a Hollywood icon, but also a victim of one of the greatest mysteries in the history of the entertainment industry. 40 years have passed, yet her death remains a major question mark. Was it an accident or a crime that was covered up? Did the truth sink beneath the dark waters that night, or does it still linger within the unresolved contradictions? The public has never stopped seeking answers. The bruises on Natalie's body, the ignored cries for help, the conflicting testimonies, and the suspicious silence of those aboard the yacht's splendor. All of it forms a case full of doubts and secrets. The police have reopened the investigation, yet to this day, no one has been charged. Justice, if it is ever to come, remains uncertain. Hollywood was shaken by her tragic passing, and to this day, the story of Natalie Wood's death continues to haunt the public. If this was truly a concealed tragedy, then who is responsible? Who really saw what happened on that fateful night? And is there something we still do not know? What do you think about this case? Was Natalie Wood truly the victim of an unfortunate accident? Or has this been a carefully disguised crime for over 4 decades? Share your thoughts in the comments. The truth may have been buried, but justice should never be forgotten. If you find Natalie Wood's story mysterious and want to continue exploring Hollywood scandals, tragedies, and hidden secrets, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next gripping story. See you in the next video.